Ladies and gentlemen, you can always find the podcast at emmettmuckles.com. That's EMMITTMUCKLES.com. You can find all the podcasts and the notes for the show. Today on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast, my guest is Kate Frank, and her specialty is helping people use a book to leverage their expertise and make a profit as a result. Now, this is very, very important if you have something in you that needs to get out to the world, because writing a book is not the easiest thing to do. And I mean that by the entire process. So please stay tuned as my guest, Kate Frank, ghostwriter, editor for passionate thought leaders who are ready to become a book author. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. This is your host, that guy, Emmett Muckles. Today is the day that you were given another chance. If you don't think you're a billionaire, think again. There were two entities, two souls who came together and they supplied material, one from a male, one from a female. And through the cosmic dance and your spiritual choice, that dance began. So one cell met another cell. They began to replicate. 2 to the power of 30. You were a billion cells even before you even touched this planet. So now it's time for us to be human beings, which are people under the sun, because we all have a color. We are made in the image of man. And the problem comes when we get to that being part, because sometimes they didn't give us the manual and we haven't figured it out. But remember, all things are possible under the sun. Today, my guest is Kate Frank, Authority Redefined. Now, this is pretty cool. So go to authorityredefined.com. And if you have a book in you, if you think you have a book in you, but you say, I can't write. If you're thinking of having a book of you and says, I can't write, then we have a great book coach and ghostwriter who is committed to helping nonfiction authors make that happen and make a profit. How are you, Kate?
I'm well. Thank you for inviting me onto your program. I love your introduction.
Why, thank you.
Perfect. It's perfect. And I want to just make the comment about the human being. I was raised by two human doings. They didn't know how to just be. And I think being is very important in this world. It makes us more capable of being our best if we're not about what we do. So just had to throw that philosophical thing.
No, that's a great lead in for a conversation, because, a lot of people don't know what they are yet, or they may have a course, but they are literally just trying to figure it out. And, sometimes it's this is where the being part comes in. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you just need to take a step back, be in the space that you are, use the senses that we were given in this life to see what's going on, to find out what we are interested in, what sparks our fantasy, our fancy, and then say, ooh, something is going to sparkle. Something is going to get that thing inside you, and it's going to start a little glow or a little tinge, and then say, simply, oh, I can do that. It's all,
absolutely.
It's literally that simple.
It really is. I mean, if you are capable in this day and age of being quiet and listening to that part of you that is a being, you'll get the answers.
So
that come very easily.
That's very interesting that you say that. I mean, you being a ghostwriter. So And that kind of leads into ghost and writing. That's because you are a part of, but not explicitly attached to a project, which means you have to extract, you have to have that being part and figure out, hey, how am I going to make this manifest and make it not necessarily a part of me?
Well, every book that I participate in is a part of me. It just is. I wanted to make another comment to your introduction.
Oh, sorry.
In the fact that a lot of excellent writers need me as a ghostwriter. They're busy. Yep. They're successful. They've got a lot going on. And they're highly educated. And highly educated people, when they sit down at the keyboard, they start writing their term paper. They're writing for the professor. And who wants to read it? I come from a background of copywriting, which is what you see on the internet. The things that really engage you, whether they're a website or they're an article, the things that really engage you on the internet, that's what I've been trained to do. And I realized about 5 years ago that many, many books are written in a way that's not very engaging. So the highly educated, highly accomplished people that quote unquote write well need me at least as much as the person that doesn't know how to write.
So let's define ghostwriter for those who may think they understand the term, but what's the actual definition of a ghostwriter and how does that apply to you?
For me, I only ghostwrite nonfiction books that have a purpose. In other words, I'm writing my own book, and that book is How to Be a Rich Author. There is a connection between what people have learned in the world, and they're already making a difference in other people's lives one-on-one, and then the fact that they want to put that out there in a bigger way. And I see that very, 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 I would say less than 5% of the books that get published in the nonfiction realm make any money.
Oh yeah, I can attest to that one.
Exactly. And I know how to help them make money. I have this little template. You're not going to be able to see it, but I can send it to you but better yet, I'll send you a link to the ebook that's going to be given away free. I stole the idea from the one-page marketing plan. I'll give him all the credit. But what it boils down to is, let's see two scenarios. Say you're a CEO and you're making a big difference in the lives of the people that you manage and your peers by what you've figured out about how to run your business. And you want to help more people. Well, you're busy. And you may or may not have a community of people that would buy your book. So what we do is use this plan to figure out, how are you going to reach the reader? Who is your reader? We identify it by who you're already helping.
Right.
And then getting it really well tuned. And then this entire plan takes what you want to convey to people and puts it into basically a new business,
So I have
see the puzzled look on your face.
Yeah, I do have a puzzled look on my face. Because, most of the time, the writing the book part can be the easiest part.
Absolutely. And it's hard.
Yeah. And many authors don't realize this, or many aspiring authors don't realize that there's two components and they're total opposite of each other. One is they're not total opposites because they're both creative, but they're opposites in their approach, which is, you have this project that's coming from your spirit or it's coming from your knowledge and you're putting it into, a tangible form that somebody can digest. But then you have it all done. You've got the gutters done. You've got the colors in the back page, and you've got all the stuff that comprises a physical, tangible book. Now, what do you do with it? And people literally have no clue. For instance, who is, like you said on the sheet, who is my perfect audience? What do I need to do to get people where? Do I need to go door to door? Do I need to go on TV?
What most people do is exactly what you described. I'm going to be vulgar about this. Most people have been thinking about their book for at least years, if not decades. And when they get to the point that they're quote unquote writing their book, they just basically vomit it out onto the page. They just put it out there. And that is so wrong if they want to make a profit. So wrong if they want to make a profit. The way to make a profit is to figure out exactly who your audience is, exactly where they're hanging out, and what it is about you that you could reach them where they hang out. And then you start the book. You don't outline the book. You don't write the book until that's figured out. Because if you're a book author, you probably have 2 or 3 books in you. And the secret to being a rich author is to figure out who's your, for lack of a better word, your low-lying fruit. Who can you reach the most effectively with your message? And then write the book for them. And it's going to be different than when you're just, unloading what's in your brain.
Mind vomit.
Exactly. I mean, when you write that way, I heard it's going to be in my full book. You're writing for an audience of 1, yourself. When you figure out who your reader is, and you're being very generous about it. I mean, don't get me wrong. You're writing for yourself, but you're also writing in a very generous way. You've been through struggle. You've figured some things out. You know that if you could get this message out to people, you could change the world with that.
That's true.
And so you just do it. Well, if you come from knowing who your reader is and know that you've got at least 3 books in you, and most people can't do that without a book coach. And that's where my book coaching comes in, is helping people through that process. But most book coaches don't approach it that way. They approach it from the academic level.
Yeah.
In school, they taught you how to write. And the first thing you do when you write is you outline. Well,
and that can cause some people to stall.
Exactly. Not only stall, but be stifled by it. When I work with somebody, I would say at least 50% of the authors that come to me, we don't have a clear idea what their book's going to have in it. We have, when we go through this process and we know who the reader is and we know what, for example, this is my sample right here. Somebody that is a C-level HR executive. And their ideal client is 40 to 60 years old and hangs out at corporate events and those kinds of things. And this HR executive knows that they would love to do keynotes and breakout sessions and educational workshops. When they know that, then we know what to put in their book. But even when we know that, we don't outline. We get a series of topics. What is that audience most interested in? And, hopefully we'll have somewhere between 8 and 12 topics that we want to talk about. They aren't chapters yet, And then we get on the phone I record the calls. I ask a lot of questions. I become that ideal reader, finding, digging into, because when people write themselves, not only do they just unload, but they've forgotten how much they've forgotten. So they skim over the top of it. And their readers probably don't have the same level of expertise, so they can't get as much value from it.
So a lot of times they take it as a given.
Exactly. And I come from a place of ignorance. I need to be ignorant to serve the reader.
Yeah.
I have to be asking them to go deeper. I have to be asking them to tell stories. Don't talk at me. Don't tell me what to do in your book. I don't want you to tell me what you do. I want you to tell me how someone used what you taught them and it made a difference in their life, so I can identify with that person and that story.
I have a great question for you now. So what you just said, you said, I don't want to know how to do it. I want to know from like case studies or examples. Is there a difference in the approach for the masculine versus the feminine?
I don't think so. I think that more men have to have, okay, how do I put this? Men more naturally want to make a profit.
Yeah.
Where women just want to help people to a certain extent. So that is different. In the structure of the book, women are more natural storytellers than men. So therefore, I don't have to dig it out of them. In fact, I have to dig out of them the practical how-tos, because there has to be both. And in a woman's book, it may be all about the stories. And then I tell them, okay, so let's put a key takeaway section at the end of the chapter. What are the 5 things you wanted people to learn from those stories? And I put those in there, because the structure of a book in today's marketplace has to read a lot like a blog post. It has to read a lot like a web page. People don't have the patience and they don't read. So therefore I put subheadlines to where somebody can open up the book and see the little key takeaway boxes. They can scan through the subheadlines and get an idea about what the book is about. I will not write a wall of words, which most nonfiction books are.
They are. That is indeed true. So when you get a client or someone broaches you, how do you structure the deal? Is it a time exchange, or is it a fee per word? How does that work? So if someone knows that, they can afford you, maybe they're listening to this and go, wow, this is the person that I need, because a lot of times this is coming out of something that is self-funded.
Of course. And, I can tell you that I'm half the price of what I should be, and I'm saying that from the standpoint of when you compare my work to people charging twice as much, I pass with flying colors. However, the thing that keeps me from charging that much is 4 years ago, I was a copywriter. I was doing web content. I was doing articles. I wrote more than 300 articles for 2 different clients. This is the kind of work I did. And it hit me that people writing nonfiction books needed my help. And when I started doing it, I go, okay, God, I get it. This is why I was born.
Right.
So, I structure my fee based on 20% up front and the balance divided up in equal payments, typically in 6 payments.
Okay.
But I give a 10% discount for somebody that wants to pay up front, because if you learn enough about me in the interview process that you know I'm the person to do it for you, then it's just a matter of how do you manage the money best. And, 10% of my fee is greater than what they would probably pay in credit card payments.
Yeah.
So, some people take advantage of that. There's a few other things where I give people discounts. So far I haven't been on the cover of a book listed as a co-author, but I've got one finalizing right now that I will. And I gave her a substantial discount for naming me as the co-author of the book.
Right.
I require that they put me in their acknowledgments page, but if they'll put me on the cover and say with Kate Frank, or even Kate Frank editor, which, I do a lot more than editing, but if that's what they're comfortable with, there's discount. So, the book fee can be greatly discounted.
Okay. Is there somewhere where people can see that, or should they just call you? So, because I know I used to have clients, and before I would give them a price, I didn't even know if I would work with them.
Exactly. Exactly. Every author comes to me from a different place. I'm talking to a fellow right now who runs a pain clinic here in Houston. And when we started talking, met him on LinkedIn, when we started talking, he told me that he had past opioid addiction. And when he was coming out of that addiction, he wrote a 150-page book, and then he set it aside. So he's coming to me from a very different place. Like I told him, we'll probably take a third of that and get rid of it because you did it for your cathartic reasons.
Yeah.
And having the book at about 150 pages is perfect for a first book. But what we want to do is now take your story and figure out how to reach that ideal reader. And that will be new. And how I'll do that is we're going to get on the recorded phone calls, and we'll do that. And his price is going to be different than another fellow I met on LinkedIn who I could tell he had a remarkable story. He said that he grew up and everyone in his family was a criminal. And of course he was in poverty, and he didn't want to follow that path. So he started out by actually working in the prison system, then becoming a police officer, then getting his doctorate, and now he's a college professor. I knew this guy had a good story, even before he told me that much. But he doesn't have anything written down. For him, it will have to be more exploratory, and I'll have to charge him my full fee because
it's a lot of work.
Well, it's a lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's easier for me to work with somebody that has nothing than it is for somebody that already has something done. But I can get through the one that's gotten some stuff done faster than I can starting from scratch.
All right. So let me ask you this particular question because it is so very important, especially for you. Who is your perfect customer?
My perfect customer is a thought leader. There's somebody they have a deep desire. First of all, they're a thought leader now, but they used to struggle in something, whether it be in their life experience, like the guy I just told you, the one that had the opioid addiction, or the one that I wrote for a couple of years ago who was a C-suite executive at Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And he knew his book is, he doesn't mind me telling. Most times when I ghostwrite, can't tell, but his book was Hack the Corporate Ladder. And what Rob did is he told stories about himself and the mistakes he made. He told stories about the people that he helped in the corporate world. He demystified how to get ahead in the corporate world, because the truth is, the things that I learned from him, I probably could have worked in a corporation if I would have read his book first. But because I'm a boat rocker, and I'm older than he is, I failed in a big way in the corporate world, because I always had a new idea. I had a better idea. I wanted somebody to consider that there was a better way to do things, and they just don't like to do that in corporations most of the time.
Yeah, big ships don't turn very fast.
No.
Yeah, they don't.
Each one of them are very different, but each one of them, I mean, Rob had been helping people clearly because he had all these stories of helping people. And he came from a background where his father basically prepared him for being a corporate employee that moved up in the organization, and gave him the kinds of tools that he is now giving to his employees. And in his case, one of the things that he gets from being a book author is he's invited to speak. If they're looking for somebody to promote in the company, then who he is and what he stands for is well laid out in this book. So it gives him a place in the corporation that he could not be without it.
So when you are going through this sheet, is there an action plan for getting that book in front of those who need to digest it?
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, because it's not about me. This sheet is all about, okay, I'll tell you what I believe very strongly. Even if you're a good writer, even if you have time to write, your time is more well spent if you build your platform, if you build your reader audience, if you go out there and create a community of people that know who you are. If it starts from going onto forums where your ideal reader hangs out and just commenting, or on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, you need to create a group of people that know you and like you and trust you. And if you spend the time doing that instead of writing, it's just smart to delegate it.
Yeah.
It's just smart. I mean, I can't do that for you. There are people that will claim that they can, but I wouldn't hire somebody to do that kind of platform building until I had it really in place. And then you can hire a social media manager or somebody to implement some of your stuff. But getting that, what value you have for this narrow target audience out there in the world with people that are following you and trust you is much more important than you writing your own book.
Is there a minimum or maximum, a min-max time frame that you need with someone to develop them and get the results that they're looking for?
I give myself 6 months for every book. And it can go up to 9 months or every once in a while a year. I think that when we get out to a year,
the steam starts to...
Exactly. At 6 months, it's the perfect thing. I've been through this with a lot of people. And if we go 6 months, the energy's still there. They're excited to get out there and get with their audience and do the things they need to do to make their book work. But after that, then it starts feeling like a grind.
Yeah. Because we live in this society, especially with the internet, where everything seems to be immediate. Hey, I can get you this. You can lose this amount of weight. And And we all know that everything has its own time that is required. And there's usually a minimum before you can really start to see results. And that's
the one reason why I need it to be 6 months, Emmett, is that I need to have 2 or 3 books working at one time. And the reason for that is God gave me the ability to tap into people's brain and really understand them, their reader, and all this other stuff. But whether it's a memoir, and I only work with a few memoirs, I won't get into that detail, or if it's somebody that is a corporate giant, whatever it is, then I can only work on that so many hours a week. Yeah. I need to flip to something else and refresh my brain because it's just too much.
Yeah, I understand. So where can people find you? In all the places, Facebook, LinkedIn, website. What is that information?
Okay. LinkedIn is a place that I'm very active. And so I'm LinkedIn Ghostwriting Kate / Ghostwriting Kate, or just look up Kate Frank on LinkedIn and I'm there. I write articles. I make comments. I'm very active there. In fact, I've got 18,600 connections on LinkedIn. Wow. So shows that I'm very active. I'm currently revamping my website. It will be better probably within a week, but it's authorityredefined.com is my primary website.
Okay.
So they can reach me through the website or they can email me at kate@authorityredefined.com. I'm happy to give my telephone number, but I tell you, I won't answer. The only way that I will answer is if you text me first and ask me if I'm available and tell me what the call is about.
That makes sense.
Do that, and I will answer. And that number is...
No. Don't give it out here.
Okay.
Don't give it out here.
I'm okay with that.
I'll put it on the website in the show notes so that everybody can... That way, they have to really go at it because, people will just dial you and text you. So that way, they have to do the work to get to you.
Good.
I'm here to protect you a little bit.
I appreciate that.
Well, what is your divine plan? What is it? What would you say to yourself if you to say, okay, I've done it? Is there
Well,
what does that look like?
2 years ago, my divine plan was just to write for others because I felt like that served my calling to help them change the world. Then I met a coach just about 3 months ago, and she talked to me for a full hour, and she said, you know what? Your ghostwriting is the cherry on top of what you bring to the world. It's not your value. Your value is in helping people with the business aspects of being being a coach, coaching them with their book. And that and another coach that I talked to that is amazing, Danica Carruthers. She was born in the Bahamas and she's got an intuitive spirit that is unmatched in my experience. And she helped me understand how to remove some barriers. And for the last couple of months, I've been putting together my book, How to Be a Rich Author. And this is so totally different than you will get from anybody else in the publishing industry. You'll see bits and pieces that I have in my book and what they're putting out, but it's very, very different. So I see myself speaking from the stage, giving people the essentials for how to take their passion and through a book become rich.
When is your book going to be available?
Mid-2020.
Ooh, we got to wait that long?
Maybe earlier, but I can't promise before that because I'm a good, it's coming along.
Well, I'll tell you this. So when you're about to launch, a month before you're going to launch, you come back and we're going to go through that particular book.
Fantastic. Because there's a lot of you can relate the way I do How to Be a Rich Author to what Robert Kiyosaki said about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's that diametrically different than what the industry says.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to it. And as a matter of fact, when we get done, you just send out and book that show now. So that way it gives you a deadline. How's that?
I can do that. And I also can offer your listeners the introductory ebook that they can download free.
Is that now?
That is now.
Okay. And I will put that up when the show goes live.
Fantastic.
Well,
Fantastic.
I want to thank you so much for being on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast.
Thank you. It's been quite an honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, today is the day that the Lord has made, so you should rejoice and be glad that you were given another chance. There are some people who did not have that chance. There are some people whose time was done, whether it was mature or premature. It's all mature and divine. Remember, you are a human being. You are a spiritual being having a physical experience. Sometimes that experience gets a little tough because we were given emotion. Unlike some other beings that don't have the level of emotion that we have, that emotion can sometimes lose its E. It can just become motion without the energy. When you start to feel like that, when you start to feel like you're at the end of your rope, here's what you do. You tie a knot in the proverbial rope and you just sit there and just hang out. Just hold on. Have that knot there keeping you from falling off. Because as time progresses, what's going to happen is that you will rest. And then you can pull yourself up and you can begin being again. Remember, you were a billionaire before you even got on the planet. So it is not about money. It is about the experience. Money is a new thing. Just think about it. There are tribes on this planet who don't even know what a dollar is, and they are the happiest beings on this planet until we encroach and then give them our ideology. So be who you are. Get close to the mirror next time you get out the shower. Check out the moles, check out the wrinkles, check out how beautiful you are, and get close to your eyes and see how they are like nebulae in the sky. As above, so below. We are all fractal. We are all made of the same stuff throughout the omniverse. So treat each other as you would like to be treated. Till next time, love you all. Peace. And remember, if you're writing that book, go see Kate.
Thanks. Oh.